So the exhibition begins with boatness outside. So boatness becomes an offering to you. Can intuition be a method? Can doubt be a rigorous form of critique? Can you enter the exhibition and make it your own? Where is your boatness and how can you find it through this journey? The diptych is actually a superimposition of images that I took in Antarctica with a 35 slide that my father took at the North Pole in the 1980s when the ozone hole was depleting. Inverted Map is a very personal series for me in which my fictional character, she looks out at the whiteness of the ice, but what she's standing on is the blackness of a coal mine. We Are Opposite Like That 2019 tells the bizarre story of a Victorian England that was obsessed and paranoid by the fear that the high Arctic ice would descend upon England and leave the empire into a frozen wasteland. The score for string quartet, made by David, is haunting and melancholic and picks up oral recordings from the Arctic. So you hear screechy bits of pancake ice smashing into each other, and you also sense the colonial nature of the strings themselves. This piece, Mountain Pixelated in the Water, I feel like took that idea of polyphony to the next level. This ikat tapestry is made up of the sound pieces called Antarctica Was a Queer Rave before it got busted by colonial white farts, and Subcontinentment. The poles were always imagined as this place of otherness by the Western imagination, and these two pieces kind of open that out and subvert it and undermine these narratives. The music for Antarctica Was a Queer Rave is these 80s, 90s like drum tracks from EDM, and the soundscape for Subcontinentment is made out of crows and mosques and ceiling fans and this extremely quintessential South Asian landscape. And then suddenly that idea of South Asia is punctuated and punctured by these sounds of ice on a frozen lake or the sounds of the vibrations of a planet. The artisans also used non-violent silk, which means that every silkworm was preserved in the process. And they call this ahimsa, which is a Gandhian term for non-violence. This was very moving to us because it felt like this idea of collaboration that We Are Opposite Like That is based on was also extending to the idea of non-violence, of really taking a stand and thinking about this polyphony as a way to address climate change. As Grand as What tells this kind of wild story of this idea called the La. The La is the Tibetan term for prana or chi or soul in the Western imagination. David's music was inspired both by the volcanic landscape of Vesuvius, where this piece was shot, as well as the Himalayas. So the idea of this film is not that it is a film. It is one step in many rituals that allow you to feel transformation not as an end, but as an experience.
So this is a series of 5 Polaroids that document the making of In the Spirit of the Fountain. This ritual is a sort of ancestor worship, but taking the idea of ancestors of something that is in the past as well as in the future, and something that entails things that we want to carry forward, but also things that we want to change and reject. In 2022, we sort of revisited this work. We were interested in the idea of grey and red volcanoes, the idea of eruption and retention, and relating it to this idea of carrying ideas forward and also rejecting ideas from the past and changing things for the better.